Hello, listeners. Beyond the Mask, in conjunction with CRNA, is pleased to announce that listening to our podcast can earn you Class B credits. For more information on how to submit them, go to our website.
Beyond the Mask is made possible by the team at CRNA Financial Planning. With almost 2 decades of experience, the firm guides CRNAs through the complexities of investing and financial planning. Schedule a free consultation today by calling 855-304-3748 or go online to crnafinancialplanning.com. Now, on with the show. Welcome to Beyond the Mask, Innovation and Opportunities for CRNAs with Jeremy Stanley and Sharon Pierce. We know you spend your day caring for your patient's best interests. On our show, we want to care for you. Join us as we leave the operating room and learn the latest in the CRNA industry. Beyond the Mask starts in 10, 9, 8, 7...
Welcome to Beyond the Mask. I'm Jeremy Stanley, and I've been working with CRNAs for over 23 years, and I'm married to one. And my co-host is
Sharon Pierce.
Sharon's a practicing CRNA for over 20 years, a past president of the ANA, the NCANA, and she's held many other leadership roles. As usual, our goal with every episode is to educate and enlighten CRNAs, and I think our topic today is definitely going to do that. And Sharon, what time is it?
It's time to wake up, Jeremy.
I think it is. Welcome, Sharon, back to the studio.
I know. I love being in here.
Wow. You know, you've got your own monitor now.
I know that I can't see anything on.
Well, you need to get glasses like me, and then you could see it.
I can see. You've got to get your settings right. That's the problem.
And you've even got the Beyond the Mask behind you that maybe one day people will be able to see once we get the camera working.
Maybe once you get it. Yeah. But we're well on our way.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
2 screens, 2 computers.
Telling you, we're rolling.
2 backdrops.
We got this.
Now,
hey, you don't get in the top 50 medical podcasts in the country.
Yes.
Without having the greatest technology.
Run by you, of course.
Run by me, of course. Yeah, of course. Well, it's good to be back in the studio again. And,
it is. It is.
Today, I'm going to be the interviewee.
Yes, you are.
What are we talking about today, Sharon?
Well, we are going to talk about what is your retirement lifestyle.
Oh, sounds interesting.
It does.
Wow.
It does. For somebody like me who doesn't plan to retire, I just plan to cut back.
Oh, that's kind of me.
Yeah. Oh, well, I knew that answer before you ever even said it out loud. Yeah. But some people's goals are, they talk about it all the time when they retire. Dean Mazurek from New Jersey, and he's only a couple of years older than I am, I think, and he's been retired for a couple of years. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to kind of see people go through that process. It's almost daily and weekly for us here, and what am I going to do? And they go through all the emotions associated with retiring. And think about it. You've been active and worked with folks your entire life, 15, 20, 30 years. And then all of a sudden one day, you don't go back to work. And so many people form their friendships around work as well. And then they don't have anything to do outside of that.
Well, what I hear you saying is it's more than just about money, but you just help people with the money part, even though I say you're part psychologist.
I'm telling you, it is more than the money part in this work. It
gosh.
Really is. So.
Yes.
But, Sharon, have you ever really kind of thought about what your life would look like going into retirement?
No,
No, really?
Not really, because my Dr. Pat that I worked with for 20 years, he retired, and he must have been about 82 when he retired. And he just told me, Sharon, don't do it. I know you well. And it was very, very hard for him to retire. And he said, just don't do it. You won't be happy.
Yeah.
And he knows me well enough to know.
And so many people, their identity is tied up in what they do. And you're one of those, and I'm one of those. And It is hard. I mean, I don't have a ton of things that I enjoy outside of working. I mean, I like to play golf, and there's certain things that, I like to do, but I like to work. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy who I do it with, and the interaction and the stimulation that goes along with it. It's good. So
exactly. Well, I still enjoy giving anesthesia. I just don't enjoy all the other stuff
if
around it.
If you didn't have the surgeons and the patients, it'd be great, right?
Exactly. But I still enjoy giving anesthesia.
Yeah.
I just don't enjoy getting up at 4:00 in the morning and driving and all of those other things. But, I think that I have something else to offer tangentially to the profession. So I'm not saying I'm going to be giving anesthesia the entire time, but I will be taking care of other anesthesia colleagues by making sure their practice is protected for the rest of my life, and I will take my last breath doing that.
We know that, Miss Yale.
Absolutely.
Sharon Pierce doesn't go back to Yale for no reason.
Oh, well, there's a good reason, and it's to keep going with that knife,
Yeah. And it's the other thing is people look for a certain lifestyle when they retire.
Sure.
And they're, if they haven't really thought about that, I encourage, 2-3 years before to start to think about these things.
So is that when people should start thinking about it? 2 to 3 years? I mean, of course, I'm sure that you're thinking a decade before you ought to kind of start putting it in your mind what you want, but I think probably getting serious is 2 to 3 years before. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. And I'll have people do budgets and that ugly B word, and they don't like to do it, but unfortunately you've only got a finite amount of money, and when you're spending that money on a monthly basis, it's really hard for people to adjust to that in the beginning because they're used to being able to save money. And if they wanted something, they can just go earn more money to go buy it.
Right.
And now you're on the flip side of that, and you're having to utilize the money you've saved your entire life to live. And that is a huge transition for most people.
Yes, I can imagine.
Because, that's what you've saved it for, right? You've saved it for retirement and to live off of. And when you go to live off of it, you have really hard issues dealing with that. I have a lot of people who, they want to keep it the same or grow it along the way. Oh, yeah. They don't want to see it go down.
Right.
Ever, even if they're taking money out of it.
Right.
So that's another
I can
psychological
get that.
thing.
So what is retirement ages around the world? Or didn't Greece go broke because their retirement age was so low?
Well, yeah. And you take
they live forever.
They do live forever.
My Dr.
Mediterranean
Pat,
diet.
it's Pat Savoris. He's Greek, and they live a long time. His father was 96.
Oh, wow. Wow. I don't know that I'll make it to 96, but we'll see.
With your genes.
Hey, you never know.
But just as long as you look good in your genes.
There you go. That's right.
That's my mantra.
That's right. It is interesting you bring that up because, China is now considering raising their retirement age. Right now, and this is interesting. I know you'll find it interesting, Sharon. It's 60 for men and 55 for female white-collar workers.
Right. Wait, why did they delineate white collar for females? And you got to help me out. Do you know the answer?
I don't. It's just the Chinese way. It's a rule over there. So 60 for men, 55 for female white collar workers.
Okay, for both. The way you said that, I thought it meant that men could be blue collar.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
All right. That's why I was asking the question.
Yeah.
So it's any white collar work.
Yes.
Men, women. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And, again, they're living longer, and that's been in place for some time, kind of like the United States. Our retirement system, it used to be you worked till 65, you retired, and you died 5 years later. And Social Security wasn't going broke then.
But in China, isn't their average lifespan longer than ours?
It is.
And yet.
Yeah.
And they have a lot more people.
A lot more people.
So isn't that's interesting? How do they keep that afloat, money man?
It's China. It's China. If we really knew what was going on in China, which we don't, there is no transparency there. But if we really knew, they're probably doing a lot of propping up as such as the United States is as well. So any place that can move you from one old city and build you a brand new city, right down the road from it, and move everybody from that city to the new city, which is what the Chinese do.
Okay.
They can maneuver and manipulate. So.
Oh, well, there you have it.
But I think at some point we'll see a change in our system as well.
Oh, I think it's going to have to happen.
Absolutely. I mean, even just the Social Security system, the Medicare system, they're just not functioning the way they're supposed to. There's not enough workers in the Social Security system to support all the people who are going to retire and are retired. And that just makes perfect sense for them to increase that, especially since now we're living into our mid-80s for the most part.
And the baby boomers are the ones that are hurting the system.
Well, absolutely.
Because we were the mushroom cloud of
Yep.
huge population.
You guys changed a lot of things. So.
Yes, we did. Well, let's talk a little bit about your outlook on retirement. I know a lot of people who have two houses they live part-time in one, part-time in the other, especially people who are from cold weather, I would suspect.
Yeah. And that's all part of defining the lifestyle you want in retirement. And that goes back to that 2 to 3 years prior to retirement. You should be painting a picture of what you want it to look like. Of course, it never works out the way we think it's going to, but we've got to have some sort of picture to kind of view where we're going to go.
Well, a goal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that two-house solution, maybe they live half a year in New York and half a year in Florida. But, there are things that you got to think about even in that. You're going to be away from family part of that time. And as people age, they typically don't want to be away from family. And I've seen that pop up on a lot of occasions is, gosh, I thought this was going to be great, but as you age, you want to be closer to your grandchildren and your children and not further away. When they're young, you want to be further away from them. And when they're older, you want to be closer to them. So, but, then does it make sense to buy versus rent, a place somewhere else for part of the year?
What's that answer?
It depends. It really does. I mean, I've seen the numbers work both ways, and I've really changed my outlook since 2008 on whether buying or renting makes the most sense.
All right.
And it depends on how you set it up. I mean, you think about, I've done a lot of real estate over my time, and obviously, Pierce, he's Mr. Fix-It, so he can fix about anything. Well, I'm not as handy as he is, but for me, looking at it from a buy-rent standpoint on a vacation property, I'm much better off to rent it than to buy it. Because think about it. I've got to have somebody mow the grass. Somebody's got to paint it. Somebody's got to put a roof on it. I've got to go to Lowe's. True. I've got to do all these things that end up increasing the price of that property, the maintenance side of it, and then the taxes that go along with it. And then you're stuck going to the same place every time, and you feel obligated going to that place, right? Because you're paying for it.
That is true.
And we like to go to, so many different places. So there are a lot of issues around that, buy versus rent. It really does depend. But I think both of them have, feasibility. Right. Depending upon your situation.
Well, I want to tell you, last week I was at Myrtle Beach with the judge and Kimberly, because Kimberly and I were supposed to have been in New Haven. Of course, we were not there. And we decided instead of doing homework all week, we were going to do beach work all week. Yes. So we went down to the beach. But the point of this story is I got to talking to a older man. I don't like to say elderly anymore because that could be said of me, I guess. But in the computer center, I had gone down to the business center to print some things out, and we got to talking, and he and his wife were from up north somewhere. I can't recall. Maybe it was Indiana, but they were going to be gone for 8 weeks, all timeshares.
Yes.
And so they were staying where we were at for 2 weeks, and then they were leaving and going to Hilton Head for 2 weeks, and then they were going to Florida for 4 weeks.
Right.
And I had never thought about that, I am ashamed to say, because I have some timeshares too. Which,
and that, again, that's part of that rent equation. I mean, you're kind of renting when you have a timeshare. And it can work for some people. I've seen people get burned on timeshares, but I've also seen it work for people.
I mean, I had never given that much thought. And he said they do it every year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's another option.
I had never even thought about it. I thought it was pretty cool, actually, because, the only reason why I bought the timeshare is because it was one of those deals, and they said, is your husband here? I said, why do I have to have my husband? And then they said, well, you can't buy it without him. I'm like, what? How much is it? And I wrote him a check. I was so mad. That was probably an impulse buy that my money guy would say. It's not very bright, but anyway. Well, if you can't have a second home, what about the RV life? I know a lot of people that do that.
Yeah, and a lot of people dream about that their whole lives. I'm going to retire and I'm going to hit the roads and take my RV out west and drive around and go to all the parks and so forth, and we're going to hit the open road. And I think that could work for some people. We've got some clients now who do that, and they go back and forth and travel around. But, again, I see pitfalls with that. One, right. RVs are expensive. Two, there's a lot of maintenance that goes along with that. And when you're going from place to place and setting up and, as you age, are you feasibly going to be able to do that? Now, you can pay people to do it, but then you're into more cost.
And now some of those RVs, I worked with a nurse that had one. All she did was push a button. That thing leveled up. It did everything.
Oh, yeah. She had a high dollar one. It was one of those pull back. Yeah.
It wasn't an RV that you drive, that kind. You had to pull it behind a truck.
Gotcha.
And that was all she did.
Like a fifth wheel or something.
And all she did was push a button. That sucker come out. It was like a house. Actually, when they had some work done on their house, they lived in it.
Oh, nice.
For a little while. Pierce and I actually looked at RVs years ago.
Yeah. Well, I think they can work for some people, but obviously as you age, one, are you going to feel comfortable driving that big thing around?
Shoot, I don't feel comfortable now.
So those are the issues. And some people, again, it works and they have that freedom and that lifestyle. But, as people age, I see that dwindling more and more. So if you retire early and you can do that and enjoy and have quality of life, I think it's a great alternative.
Well, I was just going to have Pierce drive me around. I was going to work just a little here. And I told him.
Hey, there you go. That could be tax deduction right there. I like that.
Yeah, he could just have my meals ready when I got home.
There you go. We could say that's your residence for the time, driving around, have the business pay for the RV. We could work a strategy here, Sharon.
I like it, but I don't think it's happening.
Okay.
So what about the front porch lifestyle?
Oh, yeah. Those are the people that just want to retire and sit on the front porch and whittle and just hug their grandkids when they run up and see them every so often. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
That's a chill retirement. Again, you just want to make sure, and if you're in the South, you just sit up there and you sip sweet tea, and at night you turn it over to a little bit of wine. Bet you don't with all those
kidney stones you get all the time. No
don't
tea
talk about
for
that.
you.
No tea, no cheese. So. But, again, there are some folks that really enjoy that. But people get really bored of that quickly as well. So, again, all define that lifestyle that you want. Maybe it's a mix.
Well, you could move into the communities. We moved into an over 55 community, but for totally different reasons. We just didn't want to have the house that we had to deal with. I wanted to be close to an airport, 30 minutes from Raleigh Airport, and then because my girls live up north, one in Minnesota, one in Wisconsin, and I could get on a plane and go see them, and Pierce didn't have to worry about the yard. So
something to be said for that.
Yeah, there's only about half a dozen people in the whole community that still work out of probably 150 people in there. But it's supposed to be an active lifestyle community, except nothing is active right now because of COVID.
Are you the only one out there walking at 5 a.m?
No, actually there are a few others that do walk in the morning. One of the guys that is retired there, he said, I know what the weather's going to be like by looking at you go by at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Did he have his walker or wheelchair?
No, actually, he just not. He just had a total knee replacement about 3 weeks ago, and he's doing very well.
Okay.
But,
all right, good.
There are a few really active people, and they go up to age 94. And the new HOA board, though, they want to put together a list of all nurses in the community. Of course, all of them are retired except for me. So in case somebody falls over,
they're going to call you. Sharon, come over here.
I'm going to have to
work. A little mouth to mouth over here.
I'll have to work. I'll have to work. So
yeah.
what if you like a lot of activity in your retirement? What are some options then?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we've seen a lot of retirees doing now is moving to a college town. Maybe most college towns have, great health care, which is a concern as you age.
Right.
You want to be close to that. I mean, you think about here in Winston, we got Wake Forest,
Right.
and, I don't know that
Duke,
we're a college town, but, Duke, Durham would be, absolutely. Chapel Hill would be. And you have access
I had given that much thought, but you're exactly right.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
exactly right.
And there's usually a lot of stuff to do, and there's a lot of art if you and stuff associated with that, concerts, and definitely sporting events if you're into those types of things. Not in COVID, but
Right.
hopefully one day we'll move past that. So it kind of makes things easy. You've got a lot of access and so forth, and you're surrounded by younger people, which in turn makes you feel a little younger as well.
And keeps you young.
Yeah.
Boy, look at you. I mean,
Yeah,
Sarah's how much younger than you?
she's really not. We're about the same age.
You're a lie.
We are.
You
I mean,
are
she's a little
not.
older for her age. I'm a little younger for my age. We mix
I'm
together very
talking
well.
Chronological difference.
13
13
years.
years.
Yeah.
April, the judge, her and her husband are 12 years apart.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So it works.
But it keeps you young.
Now, you mentioned something a minute ago, about these retirement communities. Mm-hmm. And a lot of retirees go to Florida.
Right.
Yeah. And they have a ton of those retiree communities. And Florida's kind of got a stereotypical viewpoint for a lot of people that everybody goes there to retire. And there are a lot of retirees
Right.
in Florida for a number of different reasons. One is the weather, maybe not in the summer, but definitely in the other months of the year. You've got, a lot of activities, Disney and all those things down there that maybe your grandchildren want to come see you and do and so forth. And then you've got those communities like the villages. You know anybody in the villages?
Not currently.
We've got several clients who are living down there currently, and they love it. It's an amazing, upbeat community with a lot going on for, people who are 55 plus, and, they have activities every day, playing golf or frisbee golf or pickle.
Frisbee golf?
Oh, yeah, frisbee golf.
What the heck is that?
Oh, you don't know what frisbee golf is? Yeah, you play golf with a frisbee. I mean, it's great.
You're lying.
No. Or pickleball. You know what pickleball is?
No.
Yeah, these are all things that retirees are doing now because they're easier on the joints. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the Villages is a great place. And, I do hear that, obviously men die sooner than women, right?
You know why?
Yeah, because you guys kill us off.
No, because you want to.
See? Exactly what I said.
Yeah.
But, I do hear that if you're a single male.
Oh, God, you have got more women.
Down in the Villages,
Oh,
that
my
they bring
God,
you all
Gary.
kinds of pies and cook for
yeah.
you. You've got more women you can shake a stick at down
Hey,
there.
listen, whenever Pierce and I used to ballroom dance, and we would go to all these ballroom dances all over the state, if you had a little guy, I mean, the women would fight over him. My signature dance was the tango that I used to compete with, and there was this older guy who could tango like, oh, he was so good. He could lead you. He could do everything. And we would all sit over there going, oh, I hope he asked me to dance. He was like 80.
Oh, wow.
But he was a great dancer, And so I was sitting there at one time, and I must have been like 40. And I said, I never thought I would be praying for an 80-year-old guy to ask me to dance. He was very good.
Oh, and I bet Pierce played that up just a little bit.
Oh,
knowing
my
him.
gosh. You
Yeah.
know him. Well,
Yeah.
Florida, even in our community, we call them halfbackers. They moved from up north. They moved to Florida. It was too hot in Florida, so they moved halfway back, and they landed in North Carolina
Nice.
because it's too hot in Florida.
Huh. What's the, what does CARE stand for? What's the acronym for that?
Wait.
I can't think of it either. Relocated Yankees, something.
Yeah, that's it.
Something for relocated Yankees or something,
Yeah, that's right.
Interesting
have
how
to
many
say-
people flock down there.
Yep. We'll have to say something to Gail Adcock. That's in her district.
Ah, okay.
But, okay, so what about golfers?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure that there
Yeah.
are communities that really attract that. I always say, if something happens to Pierce, I'm going to go hang out at Pinehurst Country Club in the lobby. You'll be able to find you a man there who's golfing, and that's not a cheap hobby.
Especially at Pinehurst.
No.
Yeah.
And so he'll have money, and he must be in good shape, and all golfers have pretty legs.
Oh, and he'll spend a lot of time on the golf course, so you can do whatever you want to do.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You know, but they all have pretty legs. In the summertime, whenever I'm working at the GI clinic, and they can keep their shorts and their shoes on whenever we're doing their upper, and I'll always ask, do you play golf? Well, yeah. How do you know? You sure do have pretty legs. They're always tanned and in shape from walking.
Yeah, from walking.
They always have pretty
absolutely.
legs.
Yeah, I mean, golf course living, I mean, you know, a lot of people who enjoy golf or just activities in general, you know, again, another popular destination for people to retire to. You know, golf isn't cheap. I mean, there's expense associated with that, but there's a lot of social things around the clubs and people getting together. And, you know, again, a lot of retirement is, you know, what am I going to do socially? If you've done a good job financially, the next step is to say, okay, what does my social life look like? Because there's been so many studies that show if people keep up their social interactions as they retire, they live longer. And that's, you know, people that don't, they tend to die sooner. So keeping that up and playing golf is just one of the ways to do that.
That makes sense. And then just follow your passion, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of people do that, you know, whether it's a second career or spending time volunteering. Yeah, I mean, doing stuff like that, you know, is another way to kind of live out your retirement. And it really presents you with an opportunity to focus on what's important to you about life. And, you know, I see a lot of people do that as they retire. And they've done well financially. Then they're starting to think about, you know, what's next? Why am I really here? What are my goals and objectives for the rest of my life? And as people age, they tend to focus on that finite lifespan a little more. And
I don't know. Some people, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I think you're right. But my mother-in-law, who lives with us, and she'll be 89. And she doesn't seem to have any end in sight. You never hear her say one word. I mean, we were putting up the Christmas tree, and I said, well, do we want to do gold and silver ornaments or red ornaments? Or she goes, well, let's do gold and silver this year, and next year we'll do red.
Good for her.
I mean, no end.
Good for her.
I mean, she never says anything to that effect. She always assumes she's going to be there. Of course, my kids say, you know, when the world comes to an end, there'll be cockroaches, Cher, and Granny left.
At least she's in good company, right?
She'll still be here. I mean, she's amazing. She is amazing.
That's great.
But no end.
Huh. Interesting.
No
and then a lot of people just focus on the end.
Oh, no. It's pretty amazing.
That's great. You know, it'd be interesting if she could bottle that up and teach people about that, because there's so many older folks out there that don't feel that way. Yeah. So, you know, these are just a few things of picking a lifestyle. You know, I thought, especially this year with all that's going on and the changes in our world, you've got a lot of people thinking about what's really important. And in fact, a lot of people are retiring early this year because they didn't want to be associated with COVID. You know, they've kind of had to hibernate and really focus on, you know, what is important to me. And, you know, it's not always about just putting food on the table anymore for a lot of people. They've made enough money, they've got enough. And then at some point you start to change, like I'd said earlier, and, you know, what's next for me? And that kind of leads you into this lifestyle.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be one or the other. I mean, it could be multiple. You know, you could RV for a little while. You could have your timeshare and travel around a little bit. Then you could live on a golf course. I mean, you could do a lot of these things. So maybe even having a plan to lay out for so many years, this is what I'm going to do. And as you get older in life, you know, maybe that more laid back lifestyle on a golf course and walking around and sitting on the front porch and whittling, you know, maybe that's the older lifestyle.
Well, you know, I said earlier we hadn't thought about it. That's not quite true. That's the reason why we sold our house.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we had the big house and 2.5 acres of land, and that had to be kept up, the pool and hot tub and all the trappings. And, you know, whenever we had gone to the IFNA meeting in Scotland, and I watched people really struggling getting through the airport who were older, and Pierce struggled getting through Heathrow. That place is a city
massive,
in and of itself. And I said, you know, do you want to be attached to a house that we live in 3 rooms?
Yep.
Little did I know everybody was going to be living with us before very long. But do you just want a big house and keeping up with the yard, or do you want to be able to go places? So let's get rid of the house, consolidate everything, get our debt out of the way, and we are this close. And till I buy that car. And then I went to Yale, and all bets are off. You know,
worked a little less. You know,
I'm going to have to work more just because of Yale.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, Sharon, I think we'll kind of bring this one to a close.
Yeah, I think so. I hope that people have just kind of listened and given it a little bit of thought, and maybe we've put that little thought in their head that they need to look towards the future and maybe see what they want.
Yep. At least have a plan. I mean, you know, you've heard me say that a million times, but at least having a plan, and it doesn't have to be set in stone. You can always change it, but going in a certain direction is good for people.
Well, I mean, if you were headed north, you could just get on every road headed north, and you'd eventually get there. Or you can make a plan and look at a map. You'll get there a little bit
faster. Quicker. That's right. That's right. Well, we want to thank our listeners for listening to Beyond the Mask with Jeremy Stanley and
Sharon Pierce.
And if you like our show, and the single best way to help the show grow is to tell others. You know, Sharon, as I mentioned earlier, we're in the top 50 medical podcasts, but we want to be
in the top 10.
You keep saying that. I want to be number 1.
Well, I want to be number 1 too, but you got to have a little goal.
Okay, so our goal is to be in the top 10. So
at least
tell others about us, refer people to it, and especially if you get something out of it, leave us a review, but only if it's
positive.
There's enough negativity in this world. Until next time,
it's a wrap.
Today's show was made possible by the folks at CRNA Financial Planning, an independent consulting firm that offers financial planning services exclusively to CRNAs and their families. From planning for a child's future college expenses to building a predictable income stream in retirement, the firm is committed to offering you comprehensive financial services, customized to fit your unique needs and objectives. If you have questions about your financial future, get them answered. Call the team at 855-304-3748. That's 855-304-3748. Or go online to crnafinancialplanning.com. And thanks for your support of Beyond the Mask.
Hi, this is Jackie Rolls, President of the International Federation of Nurse Anesthetists and President and founder of Our Hearts, Your Hands, a global anesthesia support community that takes donations to allow nurse anesthetists in low and middle income countries to go to educational programs, buy equipment, or textbooks. Your donations are tax deductible, and we would appreciate your support.
OSA EMR is a free anesthesia EMR developed by CRNAs that you can download and use on an iPad. Our nonprofit mission is to make sure that solo and small practice CRNAs can digitally record their anesthetics. To learn more, visit osaemr.com to download and consider donating to our cause. Remember, for CRNAs, data is destiny.
Like what you're hearing? Be sure to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and anywhere you like to listen to shows. Also be sure to check out BeyondTheMaskPodcast.com. Each episode is posted there with a corresponding blog post, and we timestamp important parts of the episode to help you quickly get to the content you're looking for. Also check out the special series section on the site. You can follow along and catch up on the CRNA History Series, episodes specifically about political conversations in the industry, or try the CRNA Personal Finance Series. It's all on BeyondTheMaskPodcast.com. And if you have a question for the show or want to be a guest, or even suggest a particular topic, fill out the contact form on the site or send an email directly to us at info@BeyondTheMaskPodcast.com. And lastly, let's take the conversation social. Check out our Beyond the Mask Podcast Facebook page and Facebook group.